These videos, of course, I'm recording everything, but the place where I stay having a very lower internet speed, so I couldn't upload it. Maybe this weekend I'll upload all the videos. So along with the source code, you will also have a videos. So if you have a faster internet connection, if you have any question, of course, you can replay the videos. Of course, whatever I've discussed, you can anytime play it back and check. Uh, Maybe this week I'll upload as a batch process. On as coming week comes, or maybe I'll upload maybe one day or evening in the same day itself, or maybe end of the day I'll upload the video. So it may be kept for your reference, because I'm not giving much documentation in writing. Maybe I can give it at the end only, but at present we need to focus on hands-on or maybe code concepts. We should get ourselves comfortable with the coding. So that priority we are working on. Anyway, let's start. So this is what I wrote yesterday. What I'm going to do, maybe I'll write the separate file because I don't want to touch it. Refactor name. I'll give you a registration mobile, some format. Sorry, the extension not required. In fact, it is not a fully compatible mobile design, but even though we are trying to get closer, things are how working in real world. We are trying to understand that. Okay, so I'll clean up the code because the comment part is no more needed, as you have already exercised. What about the status of your exercise? You completed every examples, or then and there, or still something pending? How is going on? I also have a bad habit of running behind, sitting behind you and seeing your computer. That will embarrass you if you say I've completed or I'm working on something like that. Say I put myself here only, I don't want to disturb you. But otherwise, if I stand behind you, it'll be so irritating. So please tell me what is happening. If you have any question, of course, I'm free. I'm explaining. I'm ready to come to your computer and see fix it there itself. But my requirement is you have to complete whatever exercise examples we are writing. You have to complete it. Be truthful for yourself, because skipping this or trying to copy paste and make it working, it's not going to help you. You need to realize and understand how things are working, because this is how you are going to get paid. So please, since I'm pretty flexible, I'm sitting over here, and it doesn't mean you should not work, but I'm understanding most of the people are working. In fact, certain discussions happen between you. It's nice to notice. Of course, not only that, of course, if you could not get in some understanding, if you need some other clarification, you can come and ask me. So but anyway, so far I have no complaint. In fact, I'm a little impressed. Things are going in the right track in the early stage itself. Okay, so let me clean the unnecessary commenting block. I'm removing so that the code will look a little cleaner. Okay. The document ready function, as I said, when the document is fully ready for usage, instead of body onload, of course, body onload is nothing but when body of your content is ready, it notifies the JavaScript. But it only notifies when the body is ready. But we have a DOM specified, and even outside of also, we have a couple of what do you call other tags also exist. So I would recommend using document on ready for if you want to initialize the JavaScript when the document is ready. But of course, no complaints. Of course, you can still use body on load as well. Few scenarios we'll test it. Dollar signifies it is a jQuery one. Window. I'm going to use ready. Of course, document ready, window ready is not going to be much different. But one thing I'm pretty interested is resize. When window resize, this particular block will be called. It need a callback methods. see the way how I write the function, not to confuse the nested blocks. So if you notice, mostly I remove the confusion in the very initial stage itself. So resize the full function block, and inside I'm going to need a function. So I'm writing a function, making sure there is no, I mean, in fact, there is no argument in this case. Curly brace, open and close. Then I hit enter to make the particular block, and not to confuse the any nesting block or anything. If you are putting it equal or something like that, or entering in somewhere else, it may a little confuse you. It's a kind of a pattern I followed. So if you feel comfortable, you can follow the same. Otherwise, you can have your own. But only point is not to get confused with the parentheses or where the code gets ended or how it is being nested. Everything you have to be very careful. In fact, NetBeans will help you to identify if anything nesting goes wrong. Var a variable width. I'm trying to find the size of a window width. Window is a global object, could be called anywhere, but in this case, it's okay. I'm going to say width. Maybe px. So, of course, console statement. I need to go to the developer tool console. I notice nothing has happened because this code only work when a window is resized. You need to slightly touch the window to make it a small resize happen. Then only this block will start working. I'm going to slightly change the size of a window. Let me see. I think it's still not loading. It's a different file. Check registration. If I resize it, so if you notice the height and width is, of course, height won't change much, but the width getting reduced. I could notice that. Let me clear one more time. As I retract the browser window, the jQuery calls the particular function again and again when a window is getting resized. So the jQuery, of course, the JavaScript knows the size of the window now. So any changes happen to a window, it immediately notifies through a function. So if you notice, window size continuously getting reduced, and as I expand, things are moving. And according to my screen, seems to be my window, the maximum width is 1325 or maybe something else. So it may be different for your browser window. So naturally, uh, the jQuery has a observer object. So it observes a scenario or observe an event and checks if any changes happen to that event and notifies it or calls it uh, through a function. So it notifies this function whenever change happen to a browser window. Okay, this is what I'm going to use to resize. And also I want to know, it only works as a small issue we had. It doesn't work immediately the moment you open the browser window, because only when changes happens to the browser window it starts working. So I need to slightly modify the code a little bit. We have already have a initialize function here. That's pretty good. So what I'm going to do, uh, I'm going to do just layout. Name pretty relevant. I'm going to move this guy here. Commented. So when a document is ready, it will immediately execute the adjust layout and notify the current width and height, and also it will notify whenever changes happens to the window. So slightly, so it should start working in the very initial stage itself now. So I see a 325 pixel width and height 760 pixel. For a mobile website or mobile compatible UI, we don't need to worry about height much, because height anyway there is going to be the scroll bar going to be there. We don't need to worry about the width alone is going to be a problematic, because the effective width of the mobile phone or maybe the mobile devices is slightly smaller than the desktop. Okay, the width and height I know right now. jQuery also have a couple of other options. One is quite popular, dollar. Remember the hash within quotation hash, the selector what you give it is a ID selector. So we already know the similar pattern we use in CSS as well. jQuery also follow the same technique here. Right now I'm going to modify the DOM. I have a couple of class selectors in my code. One being the container, second header bar, and third left bar, and another one right bar. So fourth one is also a header bar. So I have a three or four class selectors here. So I'm going to modify the definitions already stated in CSS here. So in this case, I'm going to use a class selector. See, this is where your what you call NetBeans helps you. The moment I put it, scan through the content, and it gave me a suggestion. There is a class selector called container access. I can set the width. See, the same function is also used to get the width and also set the width. And almost the similar technique you would have noticed in JavaScript and in fact in jQuery as well. If you directly call it, it will give you a width of the container. Or if you want to set a specific value, you can set it straight away. So I'm going to set the width of a container, which is nothing but the width of the window itself. So I can set and modify the CSS definition of a container. Container width, in this case in CSS, what we have set is container, where the container, we have set 1000 pixel, but this is okay. But once the document is ready, JavaScript immediately modifies the width of the container, so which changes to a same size of your browser window. So the container size will get expanded, uh, but we may not be knowing until we run it. One thing, it has actually changed it, because the container may be spread across the whole. So the header and footer is something having a specific size, or that also need to be modified. Header is going to be, what is that, header bar, it's also 1000 pixel width. So what I can do is setting the header bar width also to a browser window size, or if you want to be more clear on it, what is the size of the container, the same you can give, for example, directly mapping the size of the container to a header bar as well. Because if you are doing some sort of adjustment, sometime what you'll do, container, if you have a padding, you will reduce some 10 pixel something else, so you may modify that. So it is better directly pointing whatever the size of the container the header is also going to take. Remember, it's a mathematical assumptions. if your CSS is having some sort of correction, all the correction you have to do it here as well, because if you set a padding, I need to reduce the size of a width accordingly. So there is no fixed definition, but if your CS is pretty clean, naturally this part also will be simpler. Otherwise, if your CS is quite complex, you made with a various adjustment, you'll have to do it here also to maintain the symmetry of your site in various form factors. Now, if you notice, I can probably close it so for better compatibility. The header bar and footer, of course, header footer both are same, totally occupied the size of a browser window. So I don't have white space for me. Whatever size is there, I'm fully occupied, and the header footer looks pretty well. And of course, it will also adjust when the size is reduced. In fact, this is also a pretty nice scenario because already our site is getting mobile ready, even though the white space. You notice the content is already has come down. Is what we were expecting. When page gets retracted, the adjacent content should come to a bottom instead of maintaining in the right side. So that, in fact, it came by default as of now because the effective size of your browser window reduced. So the boxes will try to find the free space in the left. So naturally, that particular box has come down. But only one thing, we have to fix this white space. There is other couple of workaround also there. Uh, the width and height property of a particular DOM or class selector you can set this way. Otherwise, you can directly use one more method, which is even pretty helpful. The container, I'll just write it for your reference. We have a method called CSS. I can directly specify the new CSS definitions here instead of giving a. For example, I want to change width. Width is not there, but even though it will work. With what we have set is, sorry, should be within the curly brace, because the CSS property allows you to add one or more definitions same time instead of one definition. So width is going to be width. So this way also you can specify width. So using .css property also, you can directly, whatever you write in CSS, the same thing you can write, but make sure it is within the curly brace. First I want to verify whether it works. Okay, it works, no problem, no errors. Using this .css property helps me to add multiple attributes same time. For example, I can also specify height also, for example, for testing purpose. So 200 pixel I'm just putting. So multiple properties I can set. Instead, if I use a dot width or dot height, is a single property options. Whereas if you use a dot CSS, not only you can set width, height, background, the border, everything you can set. So for our testing purpose, the header effective height I'm changing. So how it looks like, we'll see. I think the height of 200 pixel just created. Header, footer, both are same definitions. So for just to show, I use this way. In fact, we don't need to change the height of the particular DOM, so we are not going to change anyway, but I try to say that option is also available. So I'm just going back. But wherever, if you have a requirement to set something, multiple thing, you can use .css property instead of .width or height. Okay, this is fine. Now we need to see there is a size of a window to some pixel we have, so 1300 pixel or something according to me. So the left and right bar equivalently take half of the particular width. So that's what we have written. If you notice our CSS, the left bar is 500 pixel, right bar is also 500 pixel. Of course, there is a padding exists, but both are effectively taking half of the width of your window. So I'm going to do with whatever the container has divided by 2, half. Verify that. So that half of the width the left bar already occupied. So okay, so as the size changes, of course it is we have to fix the other part as well, but we'll see somehow the box size getting changed. Okay. The right bar, we may going to encounter some issues, but let's try to do that. Naturally, that's also going to take half of the width, but we have a padding over there. But so that's what the half is not proper because there is a 10 pixel padding exists. In fact, 20 pixel padding exists. So we have to adjust that. There are various ways. I want to use .css property because I may need to change the padding as well as what do you call the width of the right bar as well. So this time I want to use CSS. CSS single multiple definitions possible. So within curly brace, the width is set to, sorry, this one, container. I put couple of brackets because I am going to do a mathematical expression here. Minus 20 pixel I need to reduce the width from the container size because to give a padding. If you want to change the padding also, you can add the padding stuff here. If you want to make sure the padding is 10 pixel always, and naturally whatever size the width occupies on minus 20 because the padding is going to take left and right position some 10 pixel more. So that case should work. Ah, we got it. So now we have, there is no white space, content is fully spread, and of course whatever the CSS part I specified were a fixed width in my mind. Using JavaScript I made it dynamic, so the JavaScript reads the size of your window and automatically it adjusts a particular layout according to the size mathematical expression whatever we have put. So according to this CSS, we had given the header and footer bar the same size of the container. So the container size itself set to a size of a window, and left bar takes a half of the width of the container, the right bar takes another half. So for that, we have made this expression to have a layout adjusted accordingly. But this thing fine. You see it, the content trying to squeeze, but one option we had that box which went down, but it is not going now because as per our rule, whatever size of the windows divide by 2 and give it for a left bar and another for a right bar. So to make that happen again, I'm going to do some sort of max, I think, expect element. I feel this is perfect for my mobile view. So I'm going to see with this 840 pixel. So when width is going below 840 pixel, maybe I can still give it some 900 pixel we can keep. When a width goes below to a 900 pixel width, I'm going to assume that is for mobile phones. When it's going above 900 pixel, that is for a desktop or tablets, so which will have additional space. So in this case, I'm going to add a couple of rules. If width greater than 900 pixel, apply this rule. Else, lesser one. Occupy the same width of your container. So one container, the left bar itself fully occupy, and whatever remaining space naturally will go down the right to the right bar. So additional condition I added. When I try to retract, see if you notice the other bar disappear because it has gone down. We have somehow added the mobile compatibility. The content is anyway. The table is slightly bigger, but we will find some other way to adjust the table size because that will further make the complexity of our CSS. But anyway, the content somehow looks better for a smaller screen now because the registration bar appears on the top, the bottom, the result appears. And when the content size slightly elongates and goes above and it goes to the right and left effectively. So for the compatibility we have already added now. So first one, our app works better in desktop as well as mobile phone, and we do not waste any space. There is no margin or any white space or anything being given for this layout. And JavaScript effectively takes in charge when the document is ready, and when the document is ready it identifies the width and height of your window and accordingly modifies the CSS definition with some based on certain mathematical expression, for example in this case, because the way we have written CSS, it's a guideline for us, and accordingly I have modified the CSS which is suitable for the width and height of a window. It was possible because everything we had it wrapped inside the container div tag. That's a benefit of. So when I adjust the container width, automatically it gives me a reference for my additional child nodes, so that accordingly I can adjust. So it is always recommended to keep a root node. If you notice, there is a body tag which wraps everything. Why should I still need a div container? Then inside keep the header, footer, and left or something like that. I kept the container for purposefully because I may use this particular DOM to resize my content whenever needed, and of course that does the work here. In fact, I don't the container width. Okay, so this is where I set. So jQuery made additional option. In fact, I've almost made my website or made my app look better in desktop as well as mobile phone maybe. So we have almost done. The app works a little better. We may think about reducing the white space also maybe because minimum height we have set here. I feel the minimum height is slightly not needed for a mobile site. Maybe minimum height needed for desktop site. I leave that job to you. Uh, so of course we may do some other mathematical options to see. Remove the minimum height property. When you remove the minimum height or height property, naturally the height of a DOM would be according to the content which is finding the place inside. So automatically the size will get adjusted. So you'll have to find, okay, you'll have to do some other workaround to reduce the minimum height so that the height could be reduced and immediately the table will appear below to it. when the content spread to a desktop mode, automatically the minimum height should reappear again. So you have to do the adjustments accordingly to have that part done. So you can do that maybe the afternoon break. Of course, after some time, I'll also write the fix if you're finding it difficult to write it. But of course, that will do. I will do it later point of time. Hopefully, now we have realized the need of jQuery, because jQuery has made a lot of options. I mean, pretty effective. And of course, we are modifying the DOMs. Previously, we only modified the content. Now we have modified the DOM itself. In fact, I've used the class selector within the jQuery. Okay, fine. So I'll push the source code to a side, and I hope it's time for your break. You can go for a break.